From Manila to the globe, this is World Newsfeed, bringing you the biggest stories shaping our times. Good morning, I'm Monique Tuzon. Now let's dive into the headlines making an impact across the world. We begin with what is possibly the deadliest flooding to hit Spain. At least 95 people have been killed in floods spawned by torrential rains that have battered Valencia. There, meteorologists say a year's worth of rain had fallen in just 8 hours on Tuesday. The bad weather caused pileups on highways, submerged farmlands, and sent people scrambling onto their roofs. Rescue operations are ongoing. The European Union is ready to help Spain as it suffers from serious flooding. EU officials describe the situation in Spain as devastating. Nearly 100 have died there, and the number is feared to rise further.
Entire villages are covered with mud. People seeking refuge on trees and cars swept away by the fury of the waters. Tens of people have lost their lives. Thousands are displaced, and therefore our thoughts are with the victims and with the families and their friends, but also with the rescue teams. The rescue teams are working tirelessly to bring as many as possible to safety, and Europe is ready to help. We have activated our Copernicus satellite system to help coordinate the rescue teams. And we have already offered to activate our civil protection mechanism.
More bad weather as Taiwan braces for Super Typhoon Kong-Rey. The powerful storm is forecast to make landfall along Taiwan's east coast this Thursday, bringing along strong winds and heavy rain. Known here in the Philippines as Leon, Super Typhoon Kong-Rey could gain more strength before it hits land. Here at home, Batanes is appealing for more relief aid for storm victims. Super Typhoon Leon barreled through the province, which is still reeling from storms Julian and Christine. Governor Marilu Cayco tells BNC's at the forefront nearly 1,500 were displaced by Leon. Now on to the crisis in the Middle East as Lebanon's prime minister expresses optimism. A ceasefire with Israel will be announced in the coming days. That's after Israeli media published a supposed draft agreement for a 60-day truce. The proposal being pushed by Washington includes the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon within the first week of the ceasefire. Israeli and Hezbollah officials have yet to issue a statement on the matter. At least 2,800 have died in Israel's attack on Lebanon. And still in the Middle East, the Palestinian death toll in Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza, now more than 43,000. Gaza health authorities say more than 100,000 have also been wounded. The war began in October last year when Hamas launched an attack on Israel, killing more than 1,000 people. North Korean presence in Russia on the spotlight at a UN Security Council meeting. The U.S. has said around 10,000 North Korean soldier forces have already been deployed to eastern Russia, wearing Russian uniforms and carrying Russian equipment, and possibly ready to join the war in Ukraine. The Russian ambassador defends the deployment, saying it does not violate any international law. But Ukraine's allies say otherwise.
It goes without saying that sending the DPRK troops to support Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine is a flagrant violation of international law.
We are closely monitoring this development with serious concern, including the imminent risk that these troops may take direct part in Russia's aggression against Ukraine, which would constitute a grave violation of international law, including the UN Charter.
Besides providing deadly munitions and ballistic missiles to Russia, the DPRK is now deploying thousands of its own troops to Russia, disguised as Russian soldiers. The Republic of Korea provided an early warning on the DPRK's direct involvement in the war.
In addition to aiding Russia's ongoing violation of the UN Charter and a UN member state's sovereignty and territorial integrity, this cooperation between Russia and the DPRK is a direct violation of multiple UN Security Council resolutions.
The U.S. is calling for the immediate withdrawal of North Korean soldiers in Russia. Washington also warning Russia against using Pyongyang's troops in combat. U.S. officials earlier said North Korean soldiers are fair targets if they join Russia's offensive in Ukraine.
Now, we're closely tracking the unprecedented level of direct military cooperation between Russia and the DPRK. In our meetings today, we shared our deep concerns about the deployment of DPRK troops to Russia. Putin will not prevail in Ukraine, even with more help from North Korea.
As the devastating wars rage across the Middle East and Ukraine, the United Nations calls for peace in order to save the planet. Speaking at the sidelines of the COP16 summit in Colombia, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres highlighted the irreversible impact of wars to the environment. He says this makes just peace and ceasefires crucial to avoid an environmental catastrophe. Guterres adding world leaders can no longer neglect biodiversity.
We need to make peace in nature, but we need to make peace among ourselves, because wars are one of the most devastating impacts wars have some of the most devastating impacts on biodiversity, on climate, and on pollution. The world has come to Cali to make peace with nature. And let me be clear, we are facing an existential crisis. Temperatures are climbing higher and higher. We are losing more and more species forever. We are poisoning our waters and treating nature as a disposable asset. Obviously, finance is essential, but finance is not enough. What we need is a political priority at government level, a political priority at multilateral institutions level, and a clear commitment of the private sector.
Coming up next, the latest on the U.S. elections as Donald Trump takes his campaign to Wisconsin riding a garbage truck, while Kamala Harris goes on attack mode again in Pennsylvania. This is World Newsfeed, only on BNC. Welcome back. You're still watching World Newsfeed here on BNC. The U.S. economy maintains a solid pace of growth in the third quarter, though missing expectations. Gross domestic product increased at 2.8%, annualized rate less than market forecast of 3 to 3.1%. The expansion is largely attributed to robust consumer spending, powered by subsiding inflation and strong wage gains. That's despite high interest rates and continued worries that stimulus measures are not enough to sustain growth. On to the race for the White House. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is seizing on U.S. President Joe Biden's garbage remark. In an effort to draw attention to Biden's gaffe, Trump boarded a garbage truck upon arriving in Wisconsin. Republicans are accusing Biden of calling Trump supporters garbage. And the Trump campaign sure is trying to capitalize on the outrage.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden. I think the Democrats have done a very poor job. We're leading in every state. We're leading big, and I think that the comment made by really both of them, because there are really two of them, about being garbage, maybe 250 million people, they shouldn't be talking. That's like deplorable for Hillary. This is the deplorable for Hillary. And I think this is worse, actually. For Joe Biden to make that statement, it's really a disgrace.
As for the White House, it insists Biden's garbage comment was not meant to describe Trump's supporters.
He does not view Trump supporters or anybody who supports Trump as garbage. That is not what he views. If the president has said this for more than 3 years now, he has said multiple times that he is a president for all. It doesn't matter if you live in a red state. It doesn't matter if you live in a blue state. He has said this himself. I have said it on his behalf. He believes that he's a president for all.
Trump supporters weighing in on Biden's garbage comment. Many find the remarks irrelevant, while others say it just proves the outgoing president is losing his mind.
He says garbage. I take offense to that, but it goes in one ear and out the other.
I think that what Biden said is pretty irrelevant because he's like basically non-existent right now. Nobody ever sees him.
As Democrats deal with a political firestorm sparked by Biden, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris goes on attack mode. Speaking at a rally in Pennsylvania, Harris made her appeal to voters in the swing state, calling Donald Trump an unstable leader. Harris has been spending the final stretch of the campaign by portraying Trump as a threat to American democracy.
This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. And look, in less than 90 days, either he or I will be in the Oval Office. Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When I am elected, I will walk in with a to-do list. And we know we have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is, but Pennsylvania, that is not who we are.
And with just days to go before the November 5 vote, Harris and Trump are still locked in a tight race, making the White House still anyone's game. In the meantime, federal authorities investigating the destruction of ballots in the states of Washington and Oregon. Police believe the 3 suspected arsons at ballot drop boxes in the 2 states are linked. The White House also assuring Americans state officials will provide replacement ballots, calling the destruction unacceptable.
Every eligible American has the right to make their voices heard. And so we are committed to making sure that Americans' right to vote occurs, right? We are committed to that, and we want to make sure that is not undermined. And so we're working with state officials, providing replacement ballots to those affected, and are working to protect against future incidents. That's what state officials are doing, and FBI certainly is going to investigate these incidents.
Coming up, the White House opens its doors to trick-or-treaters, with the First Lady dressing up as a panda for the occasion. Stay with us here on World Newsfeed. We're back. This is World Newsfeed on BNC. Boxing legend Mike Tyson brushes off criticisms over his upcoming bout with a social media personality 3 decades his junior. The 58-year-old Tyson will step into the ring against 31-year-old Jake Paul in Texas on November 15. But British promoter Eddie Hearn brands the fight as dangerous, irresponsible, and disrespectful to boxing. Hearn also said Tyson is too old to fight.
I'm just doing really well. I'm doing really well. I'm very grateful that I'm doing well. I'm just looking forward to the fight. Really looking forward to it. Like when you think about, regardless of me being how old I am, this guy only has 10 fights.
Yeah.
He only has 10 fights. This money from this fight is not going to change my lifestyle any. I'm not, I could use a buck like everyone else, but this is not for financial reason. My life is not going to change not 1% after this fight. I will always be able to live this way. And I'm just doing it because I want to test myself.
Once the baddest man on the planet, Tyson has 50 wins with 44 knockouts and 6 losses in his career. He was stripped of his boxing license after he bit rival Evander Holyfield's ear during their bout back in 1997. It's that time of the year when the White House opens its doors to trick-or-treaters. The first couple welcomed kids in costumes, with U.S. President Joe Biden handing out candies, but his wife, First Lady Jill Biden, surely stood out, dressing up as a panda for the occasion. The longtime educator also handed out books to children, sticking to this year's Hallow Read theme. Thousands of children participated in the final trick-or-treat event of the Bidens at the White House. And before we go, it's been about a month, but Filipino-American pop star Olivia Rodrigo is not yet done gushing over her Manila stop for her Guts World Tour. In an interview with Jimmy Fallon, Olivia said going to the Philippines was really special. She also had nothing but praises for the singing chops of her Filipino fans.
I got to go to the Philippines recently, which is really cool. I'm Filipino and I'd never been.
Oh my God, I would love to go to the Philippines.
Yeah, it was so special and everyone was so great. Such good singers. Like, there's a rumor that they're really good at karaoke. And
yes.
Everyone in the arena, they were like singing in harmony. It was like insane.
Really?
They were singing my lyrics back to me. Perfectly on pitch, perfectly on key. It was awesome.
Olivia visited Manila for the first time in early October for a sold-out show on her Guts World Tour at the Philippine Arena. And that's all for now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Monique Tuzon. Catch up with us again tomorrow at 10 when we bring you the world in 30 minutes, only on World Newsfeed. Follow the Money comes next, so make sure you keep it here on BNC.